Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Just the Worst Podcast, episode number 13 to be perfectly exact. And as usual, I'm your host, Billy Donnelly, who you can find at joeblow.com. This is Infamous, and right here at Just the Worst Podcast. So thanks for streaming or hitting the download button, however it is that you got here. Greatly appreciated. And we're going to head on in to the world of Hollywood and movies, as we normally do, talking about the latest events and occurrences for you to be informed on, put some of things into context, and maybe add another perspective to your mindset or the discussions that you've been having. So we are a little bit over a week away from Star Wars The Force Awakens. I don't think we can avoid that or ignore that or pretend like that's not happening. Star Wars The Force Awakens is right on the doorstep, and by this time next week, as you listen to this podcast, I will have seen the movie. I will not be able to talk about it on this show. I'll be able to talk about it at a later time on another one of our podcasts, Just the Worst Movie Review Podcast. I'll be able to discuss it on there. But at the time that we go to air next week for this particular show, I will have seen it, but I will not be able to talk about it or give you my impressions of it. But look, the excitement is palpable. You could feel it. People are starting to really get into it, as if they haven't already for like the last year and a half. But now, as the countdown clock is ticking down, as we're getting ready to hit zero, as we can feel it right around the corner. People are going nuts. There's people who are already waiting in line right now at the Chinese theater in Hollywood. They are already waiting in line. They will, by the time the first showing of Star Wars The Force Awakens starts, but by the time the projector begins to roll, they will have already been waiting in line for over 12 days. Now, these people are partnered up with a charity. The Starlight Children's Foundation is partnered up with them to try and raise some money. So at least they're doing it for a good cause. But I imagine that there are other people somewhere who are lined up for Star Wars The Force Awakens. Maybe not now, but they will start in the next couple of days, especially as they hear that people are already lining up somewhere else. They're like, oh shit, I got to start lining up too. Which I just don't understand. I think it defeats the purpose of everyone having bought their tickets like 2 months in advance. You don't have to do it. You don't have to wait out anymore. I realize you want like the best seat that you possibly can. Some places have reserved seating, so you definitely shouldn't be out there. But I don't understand why you would be out there unless it's for a good cause. I just don't see it. Like, I don't look at this and be like, oh yeah, you should absolutely be camped out for days for this movie. Just take it in stride. It'll be here soon. It'll be here in a little bit over a week, and you'll have it all to yourself to watch a remarkable number of times over opening weekend. So just get ready for that. Look, I'm excited. As soon as I got my invitation, that they would be showing it to press, I started to feel it, like this is really happening. I imagine that you're getting there too, so it's quite all right. Just let's not go overboard on the last week. Let's get excited, let's get thrilled, and then let's sit down and just hope it's good and not go crazy. But with that being said, can we leave poor George Lucas alone though? Like, can we leave this poor guy alone? I mean, he's not poor. He's got a shit ton of money. He sold Star Wars for $4 billion and then had so much money that he just gave that away. He's like, I'll just give that to education. I don't need... What am I going to do with $4 billion? I already have my own shit ton of money. I already swim in dollar bills like Scrooge McDuck. So, he's not poor, George Lucas, but... Can we leave George Lucas alone, period? In regards to Star Wars, it's really kind of strange how this has gone. And look, I understand George Lucas has been Star Wars since forever. Created Star Wars, fostered Star Wars along, raised Star Wars from a little newborn baby into a toddler, into an adolescent, into a whiny teenager, into a whatever it is, or was heading into the sale of Disney. So I understand he's the father of Star Wars, but he's not involved with Star Wars anymore, and I don't understand why people continue. I mean, look, I do understand. So I'm misspeaking there, but I don't get why people want to continue to rub this thing in his face, trying to get some type of reaction from him or response from him or a reply from him in regards to what he thinks of the new Star Wars or his feelings on it. Look, a couple weeks back, Kathleen Kennedy had confirmed that George Lucas had seen Star Wars: The Force Awakens in its entirety, and that he liked it. That's all that she had to say. He saw it, he liked it. That was it. That's not good enough for everybody. So everybody wants to continue to ask George Lucas what he thinks, or try to get something out of George Lucas in regards to what he thinks about The Force Awakens. Did he like it? What parts did he like? You know, obviously, would he do anything different? Would he not do anything different? You know, how does this film resonate with the creator, the father of Star Wars? That's ultimately what it is that they want to know. But when you look at this, it's really kind of strange and bizarre, because you wouldn't ask this type of question to other people in similar circumstances in your life. You wouldn't. If you wouldn't, let's put you in this situation, not you asking other people. Let's put you in this situation, okay? You have a breakup with somebody that you've spent a lot of time with, okay? Boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And after being with them for a long time, you decide this just isn't working out. You know, we should probably just go our separate ways. Just do something different, because this just isn't it just isn't doing it for us. And you go your separate ways. You split, and your now ex, finds someone else. Find someone else who's willing to put in some effort with them, who's willing to show them some new love. There's a spark there. There's a new energy. And you see that, and, you know, they're not you. It is what it is. And your friends continue to come up to you and ask you what you think of that other person. What do you think of them? What do you think of your ex's new boyfriend? What do you think of your ex's new girlfriend? Oh, look, they're going to get married. What do you think of that? What do you think is going to come from that? What do you think they're going to say? They could be petty. Ah, fuck that guy. Fuck that lady. They could do that. That happens all the time. They could try and be nice. They're I like them. They're nice. They're fine. You know, to try and move past it. But as people keep asking them, what's the benefit of that? Why rub their face in it? That's what we keep doing to George Lucas. Now, don't get me wrong. I have no love lost for George Lucas. The prequels are horrible. I'm not one of these people that says, like, George Lucas raped my childhood. But George Lucas along the way just lost it. Became too focused on the visuals, not focused enough on the stories, just lost his handle on it. And the fact that Disney has it and is doing something new with it, and there's a new energy in it, there's new minds involved in it, there are people who love Star Wars who want to make Star Wars great again. That's fine. But I also don't want to rub George Lucas's face in this constantly because they're not together. He liked it, fine. Why can't we move on? Why do we have to keep trying to get more and more out of him to validate Star Wars The Force Awakens? To try and use his opinion as the be-all and end-all of what Star Wars The Force Awakens is. Well, what did George Lucas think? Like, why do you care? You don't give a shit. Really? Other than to use his response to either validate what you might think or as a way to argue. Because if you like it and he doesn't, like, what are you going to do about that? You're not going to, like, chase him down and be like, well, I liked it and you didn't, so how dare you, George Lucas? Fuck you. That's not going to happen. You're using it as some type of catalyst for an argument that doesn't even exist yet because you haven't seen the film. And of course, George Lucas is going to play nice right now. And what is he going to do? Even if he didn't like it, what do you think he's going to say? Excuse me, Mr. Lucas, what did you think of Star Wars The Force Awakens? I thought it was a piece of shit and it's fucking horrible. I never should have sold it. And, you know, it's a sad day in the history of my existence that Star Wars has become this. He's not going to say that. So he says he likes it, but we got to keep pushing. So now what does he say? So now George Lucas is asked by Vulture what he thought of Star Wars The Force Awakens, having seen the whole thing. And his response was, I think the fans are going to love it. It's very much the kind of movie they've been looking for. Now, that's not a response to what he thinks of it. It's kind of a dodge. Kind of a dart. Kind of a dip. Kind of a duck. Kind of a dodge. He's getting the hell away from this question because what is he going to say? So what does he do? He pivots and he throws the focus onto the fans. And in doing so, in making such a vague statement, now he's throwing some question in. Now this is where people can be overanalyzing of what George Lucas has to say. Because he didn't say, I liked it. He said, I think the fans are going to love it. It's very much the kind of movie they've been looking for. Now, let's go back in time just a little bit and put some background on this comment. Because previously, George Lucas talked to CBS This Morning and Charlie Rose and discussed why he's not involved with Star Wars, why he's not involved moving forward. Now, if you remember, he sold it, he had some ideas, some outlines, I believe, that he brought to the table. I think Michael Arndt's original script for Star Wars The Force Awakens, or Episode 7 at that time, dealt with some of George Lucas's ideas moving forward. Ultimately, there was somewhat of a civil war within Disney and Lucasfilm, with Arndt and Lucas on one side, and J.J. Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan on the other side, and Lucas and Arndt lost that battle, and Lucas was essentially told, we're moving on. And George Lucas said, fuck this, that's fine by me, I already have the money, I don't need to be involved, the end. And that's where he was at. So CBS This Morning asked George Lucas essentially why he left. What were the feelings, the emotions that went into it? And this was his comment to Charlie Rose. He says the issue was ultimately they looked at the stories and they said, we want to make something for the fans. People don't actually realize it's actually a soap opera, and it's all about family problems. It's not about spaceships. And that's his quote as to why he's not involved with Star Wars anymore. So now, you look at this new comment on what he says, which is, I think the fans are going to love it. It's very much the kind of movie they've been looking for. So when you reconcile those two comments, now you got to think about what he's really saying. Is Star Wars The Force Awakens not a soap opera? Is it not about family problems? Is it not about some sort of dramatic setup? Is it just about spaceships? Is it just about fan service? Is it just about spectacle? Now, you can look at this. Now, the flip side of that is that you can look at George Lucas's 3 previous Star Wars films where he really lost the grip on what this was and say, I don't know that those were really about family problems either. They seem to be more about what can I do with computer effects. And with The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, you have 3 films that I think were also not something that the fans didn't want, but I mean, look, ultimately the fans rejected them. Not because it wasn't what they wanted, it was because they weren't very good. I think the fans went into the Star Wars prequels looking for more Star Wars, and they got trade embargoes and just Jar Jar Binks and the Senate, and it's like the West Wing, but like not nearly as good. So I don't think I think that's what the fans want, is just something that feels like Star Wars. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. However, with that being said, I think making something for the fans is incredibly dangerous. Because there's it's a lack of storytelling. It is just putting something out there that you think is going to get a positive reaction. It's playing off nostalgia. It's catering. It's pandering in a lot of ways, without really necessarily creating something good. You're creating something that people feel good about, but does that necessarily make for a good film? Something that kind of stands the test of time. There are plenty of films that you go out there and when you watch them, you're entertained and they do something for you. But by the time you leave the theater, it's already out of your head. You've already moved on to other things. You know, the benefit of the original trilogy are these are films that have stuck with us. They've stayed with us for a really long time. So I think when you try to make something for the fans, look, the fans, in many ways, and quite often, the fans don't know what the fuck they want. They say they do. We all say we do. Oh, I would like it this way. And then that's done and we go, that sucks. Why? Because we're just spitballing off of what we think we want. That doesn't mean it's the right thing. Sometimes you got to do just the right thing for you, for the film, for your story, for your vision. And if it works, if it's good, that's what's for the fans. The fans will gravitate. If you make a good film, you make a great film, you make something excellent and exceptional and exciting, it will make fans. Fans will develop. They'll spring out of the ground. They'll come out of the woodwork because this is cool. I like this. This entertains me. This challenges me. This excites me. Whatever. So that's there. That's there if you make something that's true to what you want to make. But you can't just make something because I think it'll put a smile on their face. That's cheap. And it's cheating. Now, is it smart business? Absolutely. But smart business is also creating something that's going to have a lasting effect. Not something that by the time people leave, they're already forgetting. So, look, George Lucas is gone from this. I don't think we should be rubbing this in his face. The second part of that is George Lucas has one idea of what's good than a lot of people. So, you know, what is his opinion really worth on that level? And third of all, the only person that it really matters whose opinion is on Star Wars The Force Awakens is your own. When you go watch it, see what the film does for you. And that is ultimately the final say. Don't listen to necessarily what your friends think. Like, if you watch it and you like it, good enough. If you watch it and you don't, I'm sorry, it just didn't happen. But there's a need to use George Lucas to validate your opinion prior to you even seeing it. Oh, see, well, I know I'm going to like it because George Lucas says it's fantastic. Just go watch it and leave poor George Lucas alone. Or poor rich George Lucas alone. Nobody gives a shit what he really has to say. We're doing it for our own support system, I guess. And it's unnecessary. You don't need to do that. So just let George Lucas go make his experimental movies that he's been wanting to make for like the last 45 years. And we'll go see Star Wars The Force Awakens next week. Okay? Okay. Another interesting thing I want to talk about regarding Star Wars is Carrie Fisher's all over. I mean, everybody's all over the place doing interviews and whatnot, trying to promote this as if like they really need any extra help promoting a new Star Wars film. But Carrie Fisher has done a number of interviews, and they've all been like really exciting because Carrie Fisher doesn't give a fuck. And as a result, you're not getting like canned responses to questions being asked by Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher is just whatever's on her mind, whatever's in her gut at the moment, she's gonna hit you with. So if you ask her a stupid question, prepared to get a solid response back regarding your stupidity. But anyway, Carrie Fisher is asked at some point along the way about the Slave Leia toys. If you remember, a few months back, some dad in, I don't even remember where the fuck he was, goes into Target with his daughters. They're walking the toy aisle, and his daughters spot a Slave Leia Hasbro Star Wars Black Series action figure. Okay? And start asking this guy questions about what it is that they see. Why? Because that's what kids do. They ask questions. They ask questions. They're curious about things. They don't understand things out in the world. That's what kids do. So they start asking about this figure. Who is she? What does she do? Why does she have a chain around her neck? And this guy loses his shit. This is inappropriate. How dare my children have to see this walking down the toy aisle? What am I supposed to tell them? All of the things that parents say when they're trying not to be parents. Like, here's the deal, dude. First of all, you're an adult. You can tell them whatever the fuck you want to tell them. And secondly, they're children, and they're curious. So you should try to educate and inform them rather than avoid talking to your children. They ask a question, look up the answer. Find it out. It's not that difficult. And then give them an informed and educated answer. There's plenty of answers as to why Princess Leia is wearing a chain around her neck and dressed like that in Return of the Jedi. On top of the fact, this is a character and an outfit from 30-something years ago. Did you not know she existed? You had to have known she existed. Not only is Star Wars a cultural phenomenon, this particular outfit is a cultural phenomenon. So, like, have you actually been living under a rock? Needless to say, Carrie Fisher had a pretty straightforward answer when asked about this particular figure in this particular situation. So her response was, the father who flipped out about it. What am I going to tell my kid about why she's in that outfit? Tell them that a giant slug captured me and forced me to wear that stupid outfit, and then I killed him because I didn't like it. And then I took it off backstage. Pretty straightforward. Pretty right on the money. Hit the nail right on the head. I understand that the outfit has been over-sexualized and fetishized over the years by both male audiences who at that time had hormones racing and saw Carrie Fisher in this outfit and just couldn't let it go. It's ultimate geek fantasy. It is. Is there a Friends episode devoted to one of the characters wanting another character to dress like that? And on top of that, the cosplay community has embraced that outfit. And I mean, you can't go anywhere without seeing someone. You can't go anywhere geek heavy, a convention, a gathering, something where somebody's not wearing that fucking outfit, that costume. But when you look at the circumstances of it, you just look at why it happened. Jabba the Hutt captured Princess Leia. He made her wear it. Why? Because he's a bad guy. He's a gangster. He is a giant, gross blob of fat and disgusting. And this is what he wants his prisoners to wear. And he holds her captive, and he puts a chain around her neck. She is his prisoner. And when the time comes, she chokes the life out of that fat fuck. And they blow his barge and get the hell out of there. Tell your kids that, man. Tell your kids that, because that's the truth. And they will accept it. Why? Because it makes sense. It's like when people say, Billy, how come you don't like Boba Fett? And I go, because he's a bitch. And they go, what do you mean? And then I lay out the argument and I explain it to them. Do you know how Boba Fett dies? Well, Boba Fett, the cool guy with the cool outfit and the jetpack, dies when a blind man accidentally bumps into him, setting his jetpack off, sending him hurtling through the sky into the side of Jabba the Hutt's barge, and sending him plummeting into the digestive tract of the Sarlacc. What an awesome bounty hunter. Boba Fett sucks. See? It's the truth. I laid it right out for you. You can't really argue against it. You can search your feelings if you really want to. But see, this is what happens. What am I going to tell people who ask me, why do you think Boba Fett sucks? I'm going to tell them that. And they have nothing left to say about it. And that's the end. Why is Princess Leia wearing that? We already covered this ground. We told you the truth. It was pretty straightforward. The end. Do some parenting. Parents, talk to your children. Let them know what's up. Because if you don't, they're just going to get it from somewhere else. And that's when you start having problems. Because they get some perverted version of it. And now you're trying to walk it back. What if you just would have taken the initiative and fixed it to begin with? Answered their questions, satisfied their curiosity. You would have been golden. Get out in front of that, man. Fix it yourself. All right, let's pivot and transition into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where it looks like they may be closing in on finally securing a filmmaker to direct the solo Black Panther film. They've been trying to figure out who they can get for this. They've had a list of names that they've approached over recent months. They have been targeting a black filmmaker for understandable reasons. They would like to have a black filmmaker at the helm for Black Panther. Much in the same way that if they can, they would like to have a female filmmaker sitting in the director's chair for when they do Captain Marvel. They're trying to be more diverse. They're trying to open up these opportunities for underrepresented demographics, I guess, if you want to put it that way, within Hollywood. And I think it's a fine thing. I think, look, I understand people saying, well, don't just get somebody because they're black. Or, don't just get someone because they're a woman. Look, that's not what they're doing. They're not just pulling some random black guy off the street and being like, here's a camera, go make Black Panther. Or, hey, lady, do you know how to make a movie? No. What? Oh, you shoot videos on your phone? Good enough. Go make Captain Marvel for us. Like, that's not happening. They're looking for qualified filmmakers with more of a focus on if they can find someone from these minority groups to do it. Everybody wins, except for apparently angry white people who just want more white people to do more shit. I don't know. But regardless, Ryan Coogler, who recently knocked it out of the park with Creed, also had very solid Fruitvale Station on his resume. He right now is in talks to direct Chadwick Boseman in Black Panther. So, look, you look at that and you say, whoa, Ryan Coogler. Like, how do you have a problem with Ryan Coogler? Unless you hate good movies, like unless you watch Fruitvale Station and Creed and were like, these are horrible, in which case I just don't know what movies you're watching, you can't really look at Ryan Coogler and say he's not a qualified candidate to direct Black Panther. He's given you two really good films in a row in his feature filmmaking career. Why not this be the next step? Sounds excellent. Let's roll with it. Good enough for me. Now, here's the only issue that I take with Ryan Coogler directing Black Panther, which flies in the face of why people want Ryan Coogler to direct Black Panther. Anytime somebody makes something good, right away, people go, I would love to see them make a Marvel movie. Oh, I wish they could get them for the Marvel Cinematic Universe to make something. And my question is always, why? Ryan Coogler has made two fantastic films in a row. Fruitvale Station and Creed. Two fantastic films in a row. Why do you now want to wedge him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe where he's going to be confined and constricted with the Black Panther movie that he makes? Because he has to operate within the confines of the Marvel Cinematic Universe structure. He has to answer to people above him who have their own ideas on what Black Panther should be and how it should aid and assist the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So we always have these situations where, like, that guy did something good, let's bring them in to do a Marvel movie. When you know that they're not really making a Marvel movie based off of how they would like to make a Marvel movie. Their authorship is checked at the door in many ways in order to execute a vision for Marvel. This isn't the very beginning when Jon Favreau had some stroke to kind of help create this thing. Now this is, we have an idea on how we would like to do it. Who can we get to make it happen for us? That's what they're doing. So to have someone like Ryan Coogler, who's made 2 fantastic films and has many more fantastic films to make in the future, to take that leeway away from him and stick him into this tighter Marvel structure, how does that help us get more good films? All it does is help us get more Marvel movies, which we know that they're already going to make. Now, look, I don't know that Coogler's going to be as restricted as previous filmmakers were. Let's remember, Edgar Wright walked away from Ant-Man after putting years into Ant-Man because of the fact that Marvel wanted to do something else with it. They wanted it to now become part of the cinematic universe, and as a result, it had certain duties to perform in order to live up to that role in Phase 2. Black Panther will have a role to fill as we move through to Phase 3. So Ryan Coogler can't just go off and make whatever the fuck Black Panther movie that he wants to. He has to make the Black Panther movie that Marvel Studios wants him to make, that Kevin Feige wants him to make. Now, once again, I don't know if it's going to be as restrictive in the past. This Marvel shakeup that happened earlier in the year may open some things up a little bit. May. But let's remember, a lot of these Marvel films are crafted in post-production, in the editing suites, with Kevin Feige right there helping figure out how to piece these films together so that they serve themselves as well as the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe. Which, to me, is a waste of someone like Ryan Coogler and their talent. Because the reason that they got to this point, the reason that they are in the dance now, is because of what they were able to do in the past. Fruitvale Station, a smaller film, Ryan Coogler had a big part in crafting that story. Based off of true events, but a big part in bringing it to the screen. The same thing with Creed. Had an idea, was able to move forth with it. Had to certainly operate and get the blessing of Warner Brothers and MGM and Sylvester Stallone to tell this story that was building on a previously built legacy, but was able to do it, was able to move forth with that idea and have a little bit of leeway as far as it was pulled off. Now, Creed 2, who knows if he's going to have that same leeway or if he's going to be involved with it. Because once success starts rolling in, people start playing not to lose. They get a little bit tighter. Marvel's been playing not to lose for quite some time. That's why they're not losing. It doesn't mean they're doing anything exceptional. I think there are some really good films in the MCU, but they're not fantastic. They're passable to fill the greater story arc, to keep the train rolling. And I would hope that if Ryan Coogler comes to terms with Marvel, cross my fingers, that they would say, you know what? Let's figure this out so that you can make a film that you're happy with, as well as a film that we're happy with. That's what I hope. I don't want Ryan Coogler to be brought in just to execute a film. I want him to be brought in to make a film. And that, to me, is the issue with bringing in these filmmakers into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is that we don't let them fly. We don't let them spread their wings and do what they can do, which is why they were brought in to make a Marvel movie to begin with. So good luck to you, Ryan Coogler. And hopefully, this is the right situation for you to move ahead with. All right, let's discuss people who don't understand the properties that they have. Let's do that. Now that I'm getting a little heated. I want to talk to Lionsgate and their forecast for the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games are over. They're finished. Kaput. They're done. Suzanne Collins made 3 books. A trilogy of novels, 3 books. Lionsgate took that and made 4 movies. Because that's the way we roll now, is that the finale has to be split in 2 so that they could cash in twice. But they're over. The story of Katniss Everdeen is over. Panem has democracy. Everybody's living their lives. We're moving into the future. There's peace. There's not peace at Lionsgate. But you know why? Because they like to make money. Where there's a will to make money, there's a way. And if Lionsgate can figure out how to keep this gravy train on the tracks, they goddamn well do it. Look at what's going on over Warner Brothers. Harry Potter was a huge moneymaker for Warner Brothers. You think they would have let that go? Hell no! It doesn't matter that there were 7 books and they made 8 films out of them. We got to keep making more. Why? Because we like money. This franchise is worth a fortune. I'm not going to kiss that goodbye. We're going to keep this thing rolling if we can. So they go off and start making Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and a trilogy built around that. Hunger Games are over. You think that's going to stop Lionsgate from trying to make more? Hell no! So the vice chairman of Lionsgate, Michael Burns, goes and he speaks at the UBS Global Media and Communications Conference. It confirms what had been rumored in recent months, which is that they don't want to stop making Hunger Games movies. So he confirms that they're looking into exploring how they can make more Hunger Games movies. Now, you can't make them moving forward because that story's over. The Capitol has fallen. President Snow is done. Once again, there's democracy. In Panem. So, where do you go from there? Well, you go where everyone else goes when the story is ended, before the beginning. So the idea is to make prequels of the Hunger Games. Now, let's remember where this started. This started with, I believe, the 74th Hunger Games. So now, do you start with the revolution, the attempted failed revolution against the Capitol, which is what caused the districts and started the Hunger Games, or do you move somewhere else? Now, Michael Burns makes a comment looking at the last two films, which, while were solid performers for Lionsgate, box office that any studio would take for any number of films, down from Catching Fire. Catching Fire was the peak of the Hunger Games series. Hunger Games was fine. Catching Fire was really the high point of the series, and then the last two films dropped off. So what Michael Burns says is, the one thing that kids say they missed was there was no arenas. If we went backwards, there would obviously be arenas. So now you're looking at making more Hunger Games that miss the point of the original Hunger Games. There's a reason there are no arenas in the two Mockingjay films. Suzanne Collins has a very strong message about using violence as entertainment for the haves, which is what the Hunger Games and the arenas are for. So as you start to use that, not as a way to have thrilling action, but as a way to oppress and frighten people, the general public, Lionsgate is completely off the mark with wanting to make movies that have more arenas because that's what the kids missed. Did no one get the fucking point of these movies or these stories or what these characters were doing? Clearly not. They just saw dollar signs. Which is unconscionable. It doesn't make any sense. You look at this and you go, what an asshole. The Mockingjay films shift more towards politics and the use of propaganda and regime change. While I understand that the last two films may not be as satisfying, as dramatic, they do have a lot to say. When you get into the themes of those stories, there is a lot under the surface if you start digging. The problem is Lionsgate doesn't want to dig, they want the money on top. And the kids that miss the arenas miss the point of these films. Are they going to make Hunger Games prequels? Probably. Is there a very good chance that they're going to be sad because they fly in the face of what Susan Collins was trying to say with the Hunger Games trilogy? I think so. Please, Lionsgate, before you embarrass yourselves, just sit down with the creator of the Hunger Games so you can get an understanding of what she was trying to tell with those books and what you were trying to then tell with these movies. Artistically, it's not that difficult. But if you're going to tell me that you're going to make more Hunger Games with more arenas and more of a violence in order to make more money, then you're the Capitol. And guess what? The Capitol is the fucking villains in the series, dumbasses. So maybe take a good hard look at that before you cast yourself as the villain in real life. All right, we got some movement over at Universal regarding this Mummy reboot. That's going to be part of the shared universe, the Universal Classic Monsterverse, or whatever the hell we want to call it. Sofia Boutella, who was the awesome villainous henchman in Matthew Vaughn's Kingsman: The Secret Service, is in talks to star in The Mummy as the Mummy. Now, of course, people are getting bent out of shape about it because we live in a time where you take a female and you put her in a role that was previously held by a man, and they get all bent out of shape. Oh, look, it's gender swapping and it's a gimmick. And just shut up. You look at Sofia Boutella. She's Kingsman: The Secret Service. She was fantastic in. That led to her getting a role in Star Trek Beyond. Now we're here. She's on the rise. She's making her ascent. That's a good thing. And to have a female mummy, so what? First of all, you haven't read the script and you don't know what story they're trying to tell. So for you to bitch about the fact that it's a female in the role, that kind of makes you an asshole, especially right in the surface. You don't know what the film is about, or what the role is, or how the role works in the context of the film. You just want to bitch about it because the character has breasts. That makes you an asshole. I'm sorry. It just does. Maybe the potential is there for her to kill this role. And if you get a good mummy movie with a female villain, awesome. It's not the end of the world. It's just something different than what we had previously seen from the Mummy movies, which, by the way, as they progressed, no one liked. So doing something different as part of a greater shared universe, go for it. And furthermore, it looks as if Tom Cruise is still apparently involved in this Alex Kurtzman movie. There was talk that he was involved, then there was lots of denials, but now with all the reports of Sofia Boutella in this, it looks like he's back in the mix. So Tom Cruise as the protagonist with Sofia Boutella as the villain, and you want to complain about it? Now you're just looking for things to get pissed off about. Because I'm all for it. I'm in for it. Let's see how it goes. Now, a couple other quick hits before we get out of here. One, there is word of a Rambo TV series. Now, look, there's been word of a new Rambo something ever since the last film, when it seemed like there was interest once again in doing something with Sylvester Stallone and Rambo. So the idea now was, I think Fox had ideas for a TV series, which was going to be called Rambo New Blood, and kind of explore the complicated relationship between Rambo and his son, who is an ex-Navy SEAL. So that was what was on the table. And then very quickly from that, Sylvester Stallone and his camp commented that they're not doing it. They opted not to participate. They wish everybody well, but they're not involved. Which means that you take Rambo out of Rambo New Blood, and it's fucking dead. This show is dead. It's meaningless. Who wants to watch a Rambo show without Rambo in it? No one. So farewell, Rambo New Blood. We hardly knew ye. We'll see you later. We'll see you on the other side. Now let me get to my just the worst comment. My just the worst story of the week. Missed it last week because I just got on a roll. This week I got one. It's kind of a doozy though. And once again, this is my just the worst segment where I take what I find to be just kind of the worst thing that I've come across all week, and that's what we talk about. So this week, just the worst segment is a remake of Dirty Dancing. Now, there had been talk of doing a Dirty Dancing remake for a while. There was that Dirty Dancing Havana Nights or whatever that just didn't work. There's been talks of trying to remake Dirty Dancing again at some point in time. And I don't understand why. The 1987 version of Dirty Dancing is fine as it is. It's perfect. It's a fantastic film. Still has a fan base. And if you put it on now for someone who had never seen it before, it would still resonate. It would still hit. It's timeless. The movie takes place in the early 60s, so it's like a period piece. You don't need to modernize it. You don't need to change anything about it. It's fine the way it is. And Patrick Swayze's excellent in it, and the music is fantastic in it, and Jennifer Grey nails it. You got Jerry Ormond in there. It's Dirty Dancing is fantastic. But now ABC has ideas about doing a 3-hour television event to try and capitalize on these musicals that everybody else is doing. Fox has a Grease Live. NBC did Peter Pan. And they did The Wiz, which did fantastic ratings numbers for them. And before that, I think it was The Sound of Music. So they're trying to do something similar to that. Except this is not going to be live. It's going to be taped. So essentially, it's going to be a TV movie that's 3 hours. Why is it 3 hours? I don't know. Nobody looked at the original Dirty Dancing and said we should spread this into 3 hours. How long? I gotta look at this. How long is the original Dirty Dancing? I want to know. Because we need to know how much time needs... I know, like, there's going to be commercials added to it. I get that. So you're looking at like a 3-hour time block, I guess. But either way, it's a lot of time. Dirty Dancing 100 minutes. It's an hour and 40 minutes. You have to add now an hour and 20 minutes to it. It's like watching one of those formatted for time movies, I guess, on the weekend, where you take like an hour and 40-minute movie and you spread it out into 3 hours because like that's how we fill the time slot. But it's going to be filled with song and dance performances. I guess similar. I mean, there's plenty of dance performances in Dirty Dancing, and the music is just the music. I don't know that I need the characters singing it. Like, I don't know that I need my leads singing "I've had the time of my life." Like, that doesn't need to be. I'd rather you just strike up the music. Just strike up the original. You know, you don't have to do anything else. You get Bill Medley and Jennifer Warnes to just drop that track right on top of them. Get some Eric Carmen going in there. But Abigail Breslin is going to be playing Baby, which is the Jennifer Grey role. And who's going to be the dance instructor, Johnny Castle? One of Patrick Swayze's more notable roles? I don't know. But there's a high bar to try and hit. Walking into this, you are walking into failure in a lot of ways. Because no matter what you do, it's immediately going to be compared to the original Dirty Dancing. You're going to watch it for 10 minutes before it gets to the first commercial break, and if it sucks, you're going to turn it off. And you're going to say, fuck this movie. I'm going to put on the regular Dirty Dancing. You know, and Dirty Dancing was a stage show at one point. It didn't really do much. This isn't going to be that. This is going to be some sort of adaptation of the movie. You look at the ones that NBC are doing, The Wiz and Peter Pan and Fox doing with Grease and The Sound of Music. Those were stage shows. So to do something different with them, to recast them, to kind of work off of that, it's fine. It makes sense. Those are all the time. That happens all the time. When you start taking movies and trying to redo them, when people have a vision for how it was and maybe always should be, that's when you run into problems. That's where you have trouble surpassing the bar of excellence, even meeting the bar. So I think a Dirty Dancing remake is just a mistake, and I don't see this going very well, which is a shame because I like Abigail Breslin, but I can't see this going well, and may all the luck in the world go to whoever gets Johnny Castle, because you're not Patrick Swayze, and it's going to be tough for you to land that the way that Swayze did. With that said, I'm out of here. That's it for the show. So once again, thanks for clicking on the download button. Thanks for streaming. Thanks for listening, however it is that you got this. This has been Just the Worst Podcast, episode number 13. Make sure you follow us on social media. On Twitter, you can find us at JTW Podcast. And on Facebook, facebook.com/Just the Worst Podcast. I'm on social media as well, so make sure you hit me up on Twitter. You can go ahead and follow me at Infamous Kid. And on Facebook, facebook.com/Billy the Kid. All the podcasts for Just the Worst Podcast, whether it's Just the Worst Podcast, Just the Worst Wrestling Podcast, Just the Worst Movie Review Podcast, and we're going to be bringing back Just the Worst AMA Podcast. All those you can find on SoundCloud, so soundcloud.com. Just do a search for Just the Worst Podcast, and you should be able to find everything. In the meantime, URL is going up. The holidays, I say it week after week, but the holidays have been crazy hectic. So once we get sorted through that, the URL will be up, and with that, you'll get your RSS, your iTunes, your Stitcher feeds. They'll all be laid out there for you, so you can set up your subscriptions and be golden for all future episodes of all of our podcasts. So in the meantime, SoundCloud.com. That's the way to roll with us. Get ready. You got a week left to go. A little bit more than a week left to go. By next week, I will have seen Star Wars The Force Awakens. I will not clue you into what I think as of yet, but yeah, let that excitement start to fester, because pretty soon you're just going to be able to take it and explode it out onto the rest of the world, and hopefully it'll be pretty awesome. I've been your host, Billy Donnelly. You can find me at JoeBlow.com. This is Infamous, as well as right here at Just the Worst Podcast. This has been Just the Worst Podcast, episode number 13. I'm out. We'll see you next week. Peace. Just the Worst Podcast, episode number 13, has been a presentation of Just the Worst Podcast Media.